In this video, I want to see if I can use all Janus's aliases, you know, the usual suspects. Let's see if I can get from A to Z. Recently I have read a passage that speaks of the work by Macrobius from his work Saturnalia, in which he ascribes Janus essentially as being a composite whole of Apollo and Diana, who is Artemis, stating the providence of Apollo and Diana over the doorway of the streets. This makes quite a bit of sense to me, and is something I have been leaning towards. I've read two descriptions of Janus, two-faced, somewhat aniconic form. One describes him as being a youthful face and bearded face representing youth and age, thus the passage of time and the doorway of which he oversees. The other descriptor states that the two faces are gender opposites, one masculine and feminine. And this is just from a little bit of a passage, just showing you that someone is talking about the connection between the two. Definition of bifrons: having two foreheads, having two sides, two-faced, with or having two faces. This is also, what's funny is that there is a bifrons demon, and you just saw a few of the pictures. Here's just come up a quick description. Bifrons is a demon described in a demonological grimoires, the Lesser Key of Solomon, and a pseudodemonica daemonum, as well as being mentioned in the Dictionary Infernal. In these works he is described as an Earl of Hell who literally appears as a monster before adopting a more human form. So as you can see from the carving, it's Baphomet stone sculpture, and it's in Portugal, 15th century. Isn't it a mind blower when you see that Baphomet is Janus? And what you're seeing here is just more representations and how it's changed throughout the eons. I have to say that the pentagram at the bottom's wrong. It's a pentacle. The pentacle has the circle, not a pentagram. So just have to, you know, say that before anyone says anything. But as you can see, they changed vastly. Bifrons was also the names given to the Baphomet allegedly worshipped by the Knights Templar, and which description was a statue with two heads, surely inspired by the Roman god Bifrons, meaning two heads, one looking towards the left to tell the past and the other looking towards the right to tell the future, all this by means of the power of a demon. There were other suppositions on the figure of Baphomet. The god Janus is the pre-Christian pagan Roman god of gates and doors, annui, beginnings and endings, and hence represented with a double-faced head, each looking in each opposite direction. So there you go, Baphomet is Janus. Coulsans is an Etruscan deity known from two inscriptions and a variety of iconographical material, which includes coins, statuettes, and a sarcophagus. Coulsans is usually rendered as a male deity with two faces and at least two statuettes, depicting him as being found in close association with city gates. This is Cernunnos in Notre Dame. It's on the pillar of the boatman. Janus is known as the original boat builder. Obviously here is Janus with horns. Here's the pillar in question that I was just talking about. And here just a little bit just to show you. The horn god is the evocative name, a 20th century melding of several ancient images of gods such as Cernunnos, Herne the Hunter, Pan, Dionysus, Janus and the Green Man. Not much exists in writing and the oral tradition has been lost, so the modern pagans worship the male energy force of winter as the horn god. He is the great father like Janus is Janus Pater, Janus the father. The lord of winter with sovereignty of the male aspects and creation and fertility. He has the power and creation and destruction. He harvests the land of dead animals and cares for the land in the cold dark of winter. While the horn god may be the modern derivation of ancient images, the ancient and the powerful life and death force her remains present in the world and in our lives. Diana and Janus. The most common names found associated with the old religion in Italy are Diana and Janus. Janus is the nature god, associated with the woods, herds, fertility and so on. He was presented in the rites of Diana at the sacred grove of Nemi. He is also known as Verbius and is linked to the title of Rex Nemorenis. Oaks were sacred to Janus, which were present in the groves at Nemi. It seems likely that in time he was also associated with the god Janus. Janus was a god of doorways, portals and beginnings in general. In this aspect, Janus was a guardian who kept non-initiates away from the mystery traditions. He carried a whip and a rod, which could usher in or drive away. Janus, as the guardian Rex Nemorenis, is easily linked to Janus in this aspect. In the Aridan tradition, Diana and Diana would be two parts of the divine Great Spirit. Usually Janus is visualized as a stag god, like Cernunnos, or a man with antlers, again Cernunnos. He is also be associated with the forest god known as Kern, or no Cern, or Herne, different land, similar story. Janus is the consort of Diana, even in a chaste aspect. Here they are more like brother and sister. In other aspects they are lovers and so on. Historical references to the cult of Diana and Janus. Elgua is the Orisha of crossroads, doorways and gates. He is the messenger of the gods. No Orisha can be contacted except through him. His dress and conflicting mannerisms reflect the double-sided nature. He is sometimes depicted with two faces, especially in Yoruban art. Elgua is also the guardian of the doorways between the earthly and divine realms. He has also been compared to the Greek god Hermes, with whom he shares many attributes, and to the Hindu Ganesh. In Brazil, he is sometimes equated with Baphomet, and his symbol is a pitchfork. In Santeria, his colours are black and red, and he's associated with Saint Martin de Porres. So there's another interesting link, another one, Elgua. Voculus. And there's not many there's hardly no pictures on this god, the entity we know as Janus, this form. In this form he is protecting the integrity of the door. Now I ask you guys, as you can see, this is a picture of Faunus. The horned god is the Roman version of Pan. Now Janus is also called the horned god Cernunnos and many other things. So are these one in the same? You can see, to me, it's identical. And I've talked about this in a video called Island of the Gods. Now there is another image of Faunus, and as you can see, he has the mask. Who is this? Is this showing you the Janus aspect on how he wields two faces? I'll leave it up to you. I just thought it was interesting and I had to include it. Why Ganesh is called Janus of India. Philologist William Jones in 1785 saw shocking similarities between Dwayne, Ganesh and Janus, the two-headed Roman god. The likeness between the two was so strong that he referred Ganesh as the Janus of India. Both were the first to be worshipped at the beginning of any auspicious occasion. So this is taken from an old video. Obviously you can see Hecate of the threshold. Hecate can spell so many different names with a K or a C. What's a threshold? So for anyone who doesn't know what a threshold is, that's what Hecate is god of. It's a strip of wood or a stone forming the bottom of a doorway and crossed in entering a house or a room. That's why they're both connected. But it doesn't just lie there. The reason I included Hecate as being part of Janus is because of all the similarities. Remember, Janus is just a Roman name. The entity behind it is what I'm basically talking about. Proclus, Diodocus, the successor, a poet, a philosopher, wrote to him, to Hecate and Janus. And this is how it goes. I'm not going to sing it, guys. I'll just read it out. Proclus hymn to Hecate and Janus. Hail, many named mother of the gods, whose children are fair. Hail, mighty Hecate of the threshold. And hail to you also, forefather Janus, imperishable Zeus. Hail to Zeus most high. Yep, he is Zeus too. Shape the course of my life with luminous light, and make it laden with good things. Drive sickness and evil from my limbs, and where my soul rages about worldly things. Deliver me purified by your soul-stirring rituals. Yes, lend me your hand, I pray, and reveal to me the pathways of divine guidance that I long for. Then shall I gaze upon the precious light, whence I flee the evil of our dark origin. Yes, lend me your hand, I pray, and when I'm weary, bring me to the heaven of piety with your winds. Hail, many named mother of gods, whose children are fair. Hail, mighty Hecate of the threshold. And hail to you also, forefather Janus, imperishable Zeus. Hail to you, Zeus most high. And that is from Proclus, Diodocus. And it's obviously a prayer, a hymn to Hecate and Janus. Why do it to both if they are not integrated? They are not one in the same. They are the same entity. Hence why I want to do this video today, just to show how many entities are tied to Janus. The two-faced rendering of Hermia is a Roman variation in Vulcan Janus, god of transitions and journeys, of gates, doorways and passageways, and beginnings and endings, and of duality. Janus himself is usually depicted befront two heads, with one facing looking to the future and the one to the past. As with Hermes, Janus is a mediator between different worlds, and in this respect, the Janiform Hermia represent opposing and complementary relationships such as old and young, divine and mortal, good and follower, male and female, husband and wife. And you see now it's Janus, which is Janus in Latin. Bit of a cheat this one, but I had to because he comes by many names as Janus Pater, meaning Janus father. So I'm just going to still read out, even though you've seen this many times. In ancient Roman religion and myth, Janus, Latin Janus, pronounced Janus, is a god of beginnings, gates, transitions, time, duality, doorways, passages and endings. Is usually depicted having two heads. So there you go, Janus, Father Janus. This one is Izamud, and he's in Sumerian or Akkadian. You can see him to the right in the corner, two heads. And I've showed you this before as well. So this is pretty easy one. Enki and Azamud, or Uzmu as he is known. Not many people know what he actually did, but what they have guessed is that he was the two-faced god with function as a minister or a messenger to the god Enki. So there you go, you have I. Guys, this is one of the more viewer-friendly images and websites I could find, just to show you the name Janus. The god it keeps on giving. So this is just about Janus. Also, as I just said, Janus, the real Janus. Janus is his name. It can be said what history is written in the eye of the beholder, and most of the so-called first-hand accounts of the witches' Sabbat, which is linked to obviously we're always talking about the triad of witches in Italy, were written from the viewpoint of witch hunters and not crucially by witches. The name Janus is the name that the witches of the Basque called the horn god of fertility. The Basque is, I think it's the Pyrenees in Spain, which straddles with France. So in the Basque region, they call Janus Janus. He's also called Bassa, Juan, or Janus, which means satyr. Satyr is, as you can see from the image, you can see just like Pan, which is also another name as you saw from before. So when we're talking now of plandemics and pandemics, it's about Janus. So not only has yours truly showed you the reason behind the face mask is to make us 2-3-faced like Janus. The first death of the pandemic was in December. Mention of it was in December. That was for the vow. And then January was the first so-called death. So it's all connected to Janus, even the word pandemic. How about that, guys? So I'll carry on now. Obviously, this is just a site, it's not my own work. I don't agree with absolutely everything, but it's information, and it's how you want to take this information. Now, satyrs were always associated with the goddess of the craft, Lilith, and with other goddesses such as Diana, which is another Janus. Pan, of course, is very similar attributes to Janus, and is traditionally viewed as appearing as a satyr, half goat, half human in form. The Basque word for God is Janakoa or Jankoa. The Basque people speak a unique language, different to any other European language, and as they strongly opposed the fascist dictator Franco during the Civil War and were supported the forces of liberation from tyranny and depression, they have been discriminated against by the Catholic-sponsored government and their language prohibited in schools and newspapers. It is easy to see why the Spanish Catholic Church got the early preconceptions of the mythical devil from. There is no detailed description of the devil in any biblical writings, and it is only in the modern mass media that added a red colour tail and pitchfork with swirling red cape, touzled hair, and let's add a co-equal and prosecuting attorney to the patriarchal god. But like I said, we know all this. So why did they choose Janus or Pan to be chosen archetype of the devil character? Horns, fertility, associated with witchcraft and feminine power. Diana was especially targeted by the medieval church for being the queen of the witches, as I've talked about before. And her shrines and sacred groves were systematically destroyed by zealous monks intent on wiping out the vestige of paganism in Europe. A huge synchronicity is apparent that in Diana's consort was, yes, Janus, also known as Janus. According to Doreen Valiant witches are still called by the name of Jana and Janara, which is in Italy, the clan. The first month of our calendar is called in his honour, and he is a green man of the woods whose visage is still found in sculpture and gardens and murals even today, and are found in churches and everywhere. The pagan horned god is in all guises. He's not an evil spirit invented by the Catholic Church to create a schism between people and make them different from one another, but actually the phallic god of the underworld and nature, a doorkeeper between worlds, of the threshold between life and death. He is Osiris, and our set is a complementary, polar opposite and equal. So that's just what this guy, lady or gent who's done this have done. As with other deities, Janus has two aspects of life and death, masculine and feminine, day and night, light and darkness, the yin yang, the good of the witches, and not a psychotic being torn apart by two halves, one absolutely good and the other horribly evil. The version of Janus is in a viewpoint man-made, reflects the warped values of patriarchal society. Only pagan witches know who the real god of nature is. So that is this guy's opinion, but what's interesting is just the name Janikos and the satyr and that aspect of the horn god, because then you have to bring in Baal and all that, which I've talked about in a long time. That was just from the evidence that I found and research. Now I know why, because of the horned aspect. So guys, hopefully you're enjoying this so far. There's some wow information, takes it even deeper. Deeper than that, I know anyone other channels have gone, and we're showing you each aspect to Janus, different gods, different names, and hopefully at the end of my thoughts I can come to some form of conclusion. I just hope it. But guys, the main thing is enjoy the information. Right guys, thank you so far. This was in my last video, so I'm going to read a little bit out, but it says, it was widely believed that the worship of the god preceded the establishment of Rome itself, making Janus one of the rare and antique indigenous gods, not borrowed from the Greeks. His cult is shrouded in a good deal of mystery, and his attributes seem to link him closely to Kronos and Saturn, whom he may have been the original indigenous version of. So that's why I've included that, and a few rare pictures of Kronos with multiple heads. So there you go guys. Janus as Kronos, which is indicative because he's also his father. But hey, I'll still include it. And while we're talking about Kronos and Janus together, this is what I came across while researching. So I had to show it just because the ironic having Kronos and Janus, and it's a smart Android smartwatch. So I'm just sharing this with you guys too. The god form of Janus remained wholly Roman, with no Greek counterpart. He evolved from Janus, as we've talked about, an oak god. Interestingly enough, Janus is also associated with Lucifer, another fire and light deity. Janus guarded the entryways to every Roman home and the gates of every Roman city. So there's just someone talking about how they've tied Lucifer to Janus. This is Lugos, or Lugus, or Lug, or Lug, goes by many names, one of the main Irish gods, and as you can see, he has many heads. Now, this is guilt by association. He is being also associated with Apollo, so you can see why I've tagged him together, because if he's Apollo, and I'm sure Apollo could be Janus too. There's also an island in Ireland called Boa Island, and they state they are Janus figures. Could they be Lugos? But they emphasise on the Janus. So that's just a strange little connection I thought I'd connect. And there you go, there's L. I have not seen many people mention the Menshen as Janus, the entity is Janus, but obviously you can see the 11, the two aspects of the gods who protect the doors. Just thought I'd include this. Yes, and not only little, and there's virtually nothing on it in regard to Janus. It's just what a few people have been saying. Some say Noah is Janus, or was Janus, and I'm going to be reading some stuff out from books just to show you this and other stuff to corroborate. This is from an old book. Like Noah's Ark in the Old Testament, the ship on ancient coins of Janus was held by Christians to foreshadow the symbolic ship of the Christian church, and Janus, Noah's choice to settle opposite Rome on the left bank of the Tiber, prefigured St. Peter's association with the Vatican. Because Janus was the first Pontifex Maximus, he was also in effect the first Pope, and Peter is his successor. Peter's keys preserve Janus Noah's ancient association with doors. Here's the coin I was just talking about, two-faced Janus and the ship representing the church and whatnot on the other side. The article that I'm just going to read now is talking about, sadly, even though Noah himself was deified after his death, he became known to the Romans as the god Janus, who presided over everything. They depicted him as having two faces, one which looked forward into the future and the other which looked backward into the past before the flood. The imagery involved into his being the god of doors and gates, each of which had two sides. His image appeared on the bronze and silver coins of the Roman Empire for about 300 years. Ironically, the observe of some of these coins depicted a great ship. The key to the identity of Janus Noah was given to us by Giovanni Nanni, aka Annius of Viterbo. In his commentaries published in 1498, after a lifetime of research into the ancient culture of northern Italy, he announced that Janus, one of the early kings of Italy, was none other than Noah himself. From his revelation, accounts of the king's accomplishments begin to emerge. It was a key that unlocked an entire arena of ancient history that had been obscured for centuries. It's also led to the identification of other biblical personalities that were known in mythology. He discovered the fascinating story about Noah's establishment and the first kingdoms of the ancient world, focusing primarily on the early kingdoms of Europe. Annius pieced together a gripping historical event of almost unknown period of prehistory. He paints a coherent account of Noah's work after the flood, namely the establishment of the first colonies of the earliest nations. About a century later, Annius' work was redacted by a Londoner named Richard Lynch, Noah, founder of civilizations, in a modern English account of more recent works, which was later published in 1601. It details the last 350 years of life of Noah and the extraordinary work that he accomplished in establishing a new society from the verge of oblivion. It also traces some early kingdoms from the beginning through the next several centuries until classical times. So that is just some of the stuff that I found through friends on Janus being Noah. Here's a little piece out of a book, Noah, Italy and the Sea Peoples, the Problem. In his Origini della Lingua Fiorentina, originally published in 1548, Pier Francesco Giamballara makes an astonishing claim that the language of Dante takes its origin from Hebrew, brought to Italy by Noah, the inventor of wine, who was known as Janus, settled and died there. This belief is repeated by Fabricius in the Codex of the Old Testament in 1713, and the same story again by Fuchs, writing in 1849. So that was just a little snippet just to show you what I'm talking about, how Noah and Janus are linked. In my Island of the Gods video, I talk about an island shaped like a ship in Rome, in the heart of Rome. As you can see, the river Tiber there. And at the time I didn't research about the Pantheon, and it's linked to the pineal gland, which is a secret name for Janus. Look, there is a pantheon in the Pinecone district, and there you go. There is an island shaped like a ship. It was even built like a ship. I'm going to show you some images straight after this, but some myths say it's just made by, you know, sediment, and some believe it's the ship of Noah that, as I was talking about before in the passages, came to Italy, and this is where it settled, or it got docked because there was a port nearby at the time. And this island, in my video Island of the Gods, what's significant is this island was just full of temples to different gods. And I'm going to show you something interesting too that was in the video, but I'll show you in pictures now coming up. But it's so interesting that they're talking about Janus as Noah, and there's a ship-shaped island in the Pinecone district named after Janus. Just thought that was interesting to show you guys. As you can see, type of island shaped like a ship. Right guys, thank you so far. Here's some old images that I found in my original video I did on Islands of the Gods. As you can see, the island shaped, it was actually designed and put in marble as well to look like a ship. As you can see, temples and whatnot. It looks really, really beautiful and surreal. This is like a 3D model of what it would have looked like. But what's interesting is these are the two oldest bridges in Rome either side. And have a guess who's on it? Janus. But as other people in them articles were saying, he had 2 heads. The original Janus had 4 heads, and over the times it got whittled down to 2. But there you go, the 4-headed Janus on the bridge to the island of the gods. That could be the ship of Noah, not the ark, but a ship of Noah, where he stopped and created, well, what I've just gone through. So as you can see, it's an interesting link as well. Another one that you might have not heard of as Janus as Noah, and Noah as Janus. Now this one is slim guys, very, very, very slim. But if someone else mentions it, I'm putting it in. Because obviously there's going to be some letters where, you know, the connection is 0 or, you know, just over 0. But you remember Boar Island and the Janus figure? Well, the opposite side of that figure, the figure appears to be holding something, but it's not clear what it might be. It's believed that the statue and the female side of the Janus statue have a tongue sticking out, which is believed to be a symbol of divinity and also associated with Odin. However, in medieval times it became a symbol for lust, so there is that link to Odin and Janus. Another name for Odin is the All-Father. Janus has a few. He is Janus Pater, meaning Janus father, but also Pater Matutinus, father of the morning, son of light, hence the link to Lucifer, came before Jupiter and all the other Roman gods that the modern world so readily remembers. Janus is the god of gods. Janus came to Rome from the ancient Italic Sabine tribes who inhabited the areas of Lazio, Umbria and Abruzzi in northern Italy. So there is a small little link again, just with the names of father. And in this one is Osiris, but there's only a couple of figures that's been found with Osiris as the Apis and obviously Osiris on the other side, and it replicates the famous Roman god Janus statue of when he's horned. So there is a very, very slim. Is it just symbolic of the Janus aspect of more than one head? Probably, but it's still a link to the 2-headed god Janus. And people say, yeah, Janus had 4 or 3 heads. Yes, I know it all is, but I'm just showing you there is a slight link between this. As you can see, Portunus, aka ports. They're gateways and they are portals. You heard me talk about these so many times. But as you can see, the Janus aspect of Portunus. And this is another wow for me, especially when we had the Evergreen and the Evergiven lately about blocking the canal. But his attribute was a key in his main temple in the city of Rome. The temple of Portunus was to be found in the Forum Boarium, Patronus appears to be closely related to the god Janus, with whom he shares many characteristics or characters, functions, and the symbol of the key. So they're both tied together. He does the doorways and portals of the sea. Just thought I'd share that with you guys. And what's interesting is this is just a screenshot. I posted this the other day on my social media, and it's US maritime security, and the concept is called the Patronus concept. So they're talking about a defence from ports, and this is visualising what could be. But just look at the name Patronus, and we know this is Janus, another alias. So just thought it was interesting, and I had to include just to show you guys. In Roman mythology and religion, Quirinus is an early god of the Roman state. In Augustan Rome, Quirinus was also an epithet of Janus as Janus Quirinus. It was the will of our ancestors that the gateway of Janus or Janus Quirinus should be shut when victories had secured peace by land and sea throughout the whole empire of the Roman people. From the foundation of the city down to the birth, tradition records that it was shut only twice. But while I was the leading citizen, the Senate resolved that it should be shut on 3 occasions. Closing of the doors of the temple of Janus Quirinus. And in Q he also goes by Janus Quadrifrons because of the 4 faces and the 4 arches of his arch. This is the arch of Janus, and as you see it has 4 entrances to do with 4 directions, and it's the only one left in Rome intact. Obviously he had 4 faces because this is on the island of the gods, as I showed before. And for you Harry Potter fans who watch me, Professor Quirrell, his actual full name is Quirinus Quirrell, obviously associated with Janus. And obviously if you've ever watched the film, if not I'll show you a picture now, the evil Voldemort is actually entombed in the back of his head doing the Janus aspect. Can't get any more in your face than that, guys, and I just thought I'd share that with you. The rebis, an alchemical symbol representing the androgynous and also the mystery of the god Janus. Though there were variations of this depiction such as 2 bearded men or 2 clean-shaven men, later depictions showed him as 1 male and 1 female face, and this was popular in alchemy and was depicted as the rebis, which was the end product of the magnus opus of alchemy. So there's the connection, guys. And what I thought was interesting was there is a book called The Image of the Gods by Vincenzo Cantara, and just look at what number they decided to put the rebis or Janus on. Yep, none other than page 33. Can't make that up, can you? And I just thought I'd include this. So here you have our rebis and Janus. A fake ritual killing filmed in a courtyard at CERN, the Geneva Particle Physics Research Complex, has prompted an investigation. A spokesman suggested users of the facility had let their humour go too far and warned of the potential for misunderstanding about the scientific nature of our research. Look at the hands on the clock, they rest at 10:10, Shiva's hands. Can't be a coincidence, that. Thus, we see that Janus represents he who is not only the master of triple time, the past, the future, the present, a designation that Hinduism also applies to Shiva. Then we have Cern, which is Cernunnos, who is Janus, the one and the same. People think Terminus is Janus because they do similar jobs. Terminus is the god of boundaries and markers, and as you know, Janus, one of his jobs is transitions, so it would be from one place to another, so he has to be Terminus too. But you know, it's like anything I've done in this video, it's hard to find it in writing, other people agreeing, but these are asking the question here because they're thinking the same as a lot of people have. Who then is Janus, with whom Varro commences? And this is in Bible Hub, by the way, you can see Bible Hub. Who Varro commences? He is the world. Certainly a very brief and unambiguous reply. Why then do they say that the beginnings of things pertain to him, but the ends to another whom they call Terminus? For they say that 2 months has been dedicated to 2 gods with reference to beginnings and ends, Janus to January and February to Terminus, over above those 10 months which commence with March and end in December. And they say that is the reason why the Terminalia are celebrated in the month of February, the same month in which the sacred purification is made, which they call Februm, and from which the month derives its name. Do beginnings of things therefore pertain to the world, which is Janus, and not also the ends? See, it's not the first time we've referred to the world as Janus, and also the ends, since another god has been placed over them. Do they not own that all things which they say begin in this world also comes to an end in this world? What folly it is to give him only half power in work, when in his image they give him 2 faces. Would it not be a far more elegant way of interpreting the 2-faced image to say that Janus and Terminus are the same, and that the one face has reference to beginnings and the others to ends? For one who works ought to have respect for both, for he who in every forth-putting of activity does not look back at the beginning does not look forward to the end. Wherefore it is necessary that the prospective intention be connected and retrospective memory, for how shall one find how to finish anything if he has forgotten what was which had he begun? But if they thought that the blessed life begun in this world and perfected beyond the world, and for that reason attributed to Janus, that is to the world, only the power of beginnings, they should certainly have preferred Terminus to him, and should not have shut him out from a number of the selective gods. Yet even now, when the beginnings and ends of temporal things are represented by 2 gods, more honour ought to have been given to Terminus, for the greater joy is that which is felt with anything is finished. But things begin are always cause of much anxiety until they are brought to an end, which end who begins anything very greatly longs. Which end he who begins anything very greatly longs for, fixes his mind on, expects, desires, nor does any ever rejoice, nor anything is begun unless it is brought to an end. So these people are just asking the question, wouldn't it be more plausible that these people are the same? And when people drive, Janus is the beginning and ends because he's looking both ways. Terminus is just the action and part of Janus, because Janus is just a name. I've always said the entity behind that is, bigger. Janus is just his Roman name. So to me, it seems much sense that Terminus is a part of Janus, and something's coming now that I found a Terminus marker that shows just that very thing. And here you go guys, here's that boundary marker which I was talking to you from 1574, showing a double-headed Janus aspect to Terminus. So going on what everyone's saying. Now, the saying, end of the line, this is in reference to Terminus, the boundaries. So when you've heard the saying in the past and you've said it, you come into the end of the line, even on a bus, from a bus terminal, it is to God, Terminus, aka Janus. Welcome to the world of contradictory gods. Yes, I've said Kronos has been linked to Janus for obviously reasons, and now I'm saying Uranus or Uranus is tied to Janus. So you can quite say there's proof saying that the Greek Uranus is Janus, as you can see. And on this as well, it also says he is Noah and Janus. So you can just say it all ties together. And that's the contradictory of his story. So, you know what I mean? This video is just about me showing is there any links to gods from A to Z, and this is just a link. A lot of people have said they are one and the same because he's the first god. But, you know, you can take anything with a pinch of salt in regard to history. Vesta is the virgin goddess of the hearth, the home and family in Roman religion. She was rarely depicted in human form and was often represented by the fire of the temple in the Forum Romanum. She's tied, obviously, because the doors, the thresholds involved the home. And Janus and Vesta, the rites concerning Janus were numerous. Any rite or religious act, whatever, required the invocation of Janus first, with a corresponding invocation to Vesta at the end, Janus Primus and Vesta Extrema, so both together. And you've seen some weird stuff. I mean, not Janus Vesta tied together on some logo here, brand, even XR VR virtual reality, Janus XR and Vesta, same together. And in reality, if it was reality, you have Janus's ark, and just to the right, Vesta's temple. So they're both tied together. Vejopassis, something pronounced like that. I don't know if it's a V or a W. This one says W, but I'm assuming it'll be a V. But it's going in as W because that's what I can see pronounced. But as you can see, it's a print published in the 17th century representing a man with a biphallic head, wings and a rooster on his head. One of his hands holds an undefined object, while the other supports a fish. It represents Vapagis or Vejopatis, the Prussian god of wind. For more than a century, America has been colonized. The press was widespread in Europe, but Christianity had not yet conquered all Europe. And in some areas, as Prussia, a bicephalic god was still worshipped. This is further testimony how deeply religions are rooted in peoples according to the typology of the phallic sculptures. This god, having wings, can be considered a human-animal hybrid. So as you can see, and what's interesting is you have the fish. Janus is tied to the fish as well because he was the first pope, a holy see, and he was also pictured with a cock. I've showed you that many times. If you remember, I'll put it in now on the screen coming down, and that could be, I know it's not shaped properly, it could be a drum, or it could be a weird shaped crown, pope, tiara, who knows. But it's similar to the rebis that we've included in this. So there is W. Well guys, this might look a stretch, well it is a little bit, but I'm getting to X. Come on, it's X. This is Zhai Wangmu or Zhimang Mu. She is a Chinese goddess of immortality and personifies the female or the feminine yin. Yiwang Mu has a 9-story jade palace in the Kunlun Mountains where male immortals live in the right wing and females in the left. As you know, Janus is known as immortality but also duality. Hence he's got, I know he's got more than one head, but the two heads. And we can see various things. I can find loads calling Janus the duality. So though he's also, I've seen some, he's been called yin yang, and I'm trying to find it, I can't find it, but I'm just showing you the duality of Janus through technology and other things and science now, where they're using him in nanoparticles and different things, as you can see above. So it's just crazy that I'm getting near the end and it's hard. I mean, it's X and we're going to find a god with X, and I've just found one, and it's about duality, and Janus is duality. So yeah, it is a far stretch, like the odd one has been, but I want to finish it. I want to see if I can get through to A to Z with at least some connection, and I believe I've done it with this. Even though it's small, tiny, way out there, I've still got it and shown it. I pronounce things wrong all the time. I can barely speak English. And as you can see, I am even pronouncing Janus because it's Janus. Janus. It's pronounced with a Y. So I'm not going to put loads and loads of Janus heads in and things, because we all know who Janus is. And yes, this is a bit weak for a Y, but I'm getting near the end now. And like I said, I want it finished, because I want to put a little extra stuff at the end of this. So Y is the actual correct pronunciation of Janus as Janus with a Y. So we're made in God's image, right? So according to Greek mythology, humans were once originally created with 4 arms, 4 legs and a head with 2 faces, the Janus aspect. And fearing their power, Zeus split them into 2 separate parts, condemning them to spend their lives in search of the other halves. Doesn't say he created, he said he split. So what if, because there's contradictory information, that Janus is Zeus, Zeus is Janus, Janus is Zeus's father, Zeus is Janus's father. See, it's all contradictory. But as you can see, he waved his magic finger and split people in half. This is where the story of soulmates comes from. And we are searching for our soulmate throughout history because Zeus split us. But like that hymn before, lesser known to his connection to the Roman god beginnings and endings Janus, the survival of Proclus's hymn to Hecate and Janus provided a little insight into what the relationship may have been like, because it included Zeus. Why put Zeus in there? And there is that hymn that I showed you before. So this is the hypocritical nature of these gods and different entities and people's research. We all see different things, so that becomes history. So that's why I did it A to Z, just showing you a different opinion. Some of them are way out there, some of them are not. But as you can see, 2 heads are better than 1, as they say. And who knows? So hopefully you've enjoyed it. I'm going to do a little bit of extra now. In this, I'm just going to show you some interesting things I've found lately, also with some good oldies. So hopefully you've enjoyed the complete package. It's something different. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Bye guys. This is at Judgment Day. It's an artist, I can't remember who it was, but you can see the angel looking down, and look at how many heads the angel has. 2. So I just thought I'd include that because I just think it's interesting. This is Project Janus. It's a program for facial recognition, and IARPA are actually making it or have made it. It's the Intelligence Advanced Research Projects Activity. It's an organisation within the Office of Director of National Intelligence responsible for leading research to overcome difficulty, challenge, blah blah blah, that's what they say. So there you go guys, Project Janus. So a lot of people have been talking about this asteroid and NASA's supposed, because we know what NASA's like, but the Psyche spacecraft, which will explore an asteroid worth 10 quintillion. But they forget to say, it'd be going with another one called Janus. It's a Janus project. Oh wait, Janus is a planned dual space probe that will visit 2 binary asteroids. The mission is expected to be launched in August 2022 as a secondary payload on the Vulcan Heavy, together with a Psyche space probe, and to arrive at 2 binary asteroids in 2026. See, that's what they say. People laugh and mock when I do my research on Janus, and it is fair enough because people don't understand. But you can just see the implications just of this video, and just even at these little bits. The inclusion of this name, because it's a god of doorways and transitions and so much. So it's a ritual they need to put in. So you can just see the mission to this biggest ever asteroid worth 10 quintillion. Yeah, it's going with Janus. Just thought I'd put that in. I just thought it was interesting not to. We know Janus is a god of archways amongst so many stuff. And we know the most famous arches is the McDonald's golden arches, the twin arches. Now, when they opened a new university called Hamburger University, just look, it's coincidentally that they picked and selected Janus displays to use at the university. Just a coincidence, that, guys. And here's a meme I made, and I would have got away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling black sheep. And I made it from the Scooby-Doo, obviously, and how they get away, you know, the meddling kids. And I just put Janus there because people just make fun of me, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to have a laugh at myself because that's the best way. And I made this meme and people really enjoyed it. Many times in my videos talks about Bill Gates being tied to Janus for obvious reasons, the name Gates. But look at the code name for one of the Windows projects. We know Windows are, what are they? Come on. They're the entrances to the soul. But just look. The code name for this Windows project was Janus, or Janus, or Janus, as we need to know now. So you can just see it is everywhere and it's important. So Bill Gates is tied to Janus through his name, obviously. Portas, after Latin for Gates. But just look at his advisor. He can have any advisor. But this advisor is called Kathleen Kelly Janus, or Janus. Tell me that is not a coincidence that one of his senior advisors on social innovation is called Janus, or Janus. I think that was just like, say what type of moment, personally. So Bill Gates, Microsoft's answer to Apple Play, you know, iTunes, was Zune. Now this was in a magazine and a butt of all jokes, no pun intended, but there is Zune, and this magazine reversed it, and it spells anus. Well, there we go, Janus, Janus. It's anus, and people have always said that. But look closely. Microsoft worked with media producers to design a comprehensive technology framework for the DRM system, named after Janus, the Roman god of beginnings and endings and namesakes of January, who was portrayed with 2 faces that looked into both the past and the future. Like its namesake, Microsoft Janus planned to keep its eye on everything, with airtight solutions for the paranoid entertainment industry that would allow them to both sell and rent and lock down digital files. Rented files could be set to playback for a certain time period of number of players and then self-destruct. So the actual application behind the Zune anus was none other than Janus. No coincidences now, guys. You can just see what I always look into, and it just makes you draw a shop. So I'm researching, as I do, and I find Janus clothing, pioneers of fashion. I'm like, okay, that's unusual, name of a brand. But then I spot, just look at the activity on the account. Anyone familiar? Bill Gates, co-chair Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Activity on Janus clothing. That cannot be a coincidence. So again, here's another big what if, because I just like looking and talking of things differently, so don't get triggered by this. For anyone who's researched this is just, you know, I'm asking these questions. Sometimes it can be just as simple as rearranging letters. Now look at the Jesuit seal. It has a certain person on it. Oh yeah, Janus. So no connection there. He never used to be the first pope or anything like that. So he's no reason to be on there. And the IHS is known to be very distinct. Plus the Greek you know, monogram for Jesus. But and we always talk about, oh well, history is a lie, it's his story. Well, I've been shouting out for so long now about the great vowel shift, the great vow to God, the shift. It happened in the 13th century to the late 18th, where they changed the language to speaking the vowels. Everything got changed in that time period. The calendar, everything. So what if we just rearrange IHS? What does it spell? It spells his. H-I-S. IHS, anagram of his story, history. So when we're talking about history being changed by the Jesuits, the Black Pope, and all the collaborations, the cabal, and they put IHS, could it just be as simple as his story? There's a chart. They changed the vowels, the vow to God. They swapped everything. And if we're talking about a reset, and you saw my videos on the great vowel shift, I always say vowel, vow to L, vow to God. And they're talking about his story. They changed it for a reason. They made him January. They moved these months to become the first. So it was for him, his story. So are we looking at the history now as being his story? And that is why Janus appears everywhere in various forms, because it's his story. Just a theory, guys. You can take it for what you want. I've just thought it was interesting and just tied into a lot of things that we talk about. In occultism, the pineal gland is regarded as a link between the objective and the subjective states of consciousness, or in exoteric terminology, the visible and invisible worlds of nature. In the religions of the Latins, it was therefore referred to as Janus, the two-faced god and keeper of the gates of sanctuary. This divinity was the antitype of Saint Peter. An antitype means a person or a thing that represents the opposite of, or someone or something else, who succeeded him as the warder of the heavenly portals and who carries the two keys of his office, one to the golden mystery of the spirit and the other to the silver mystery of the body. The two-faced gods are frequently spoken of in ancient, and I'll carry on in a sec. That's just the first part. So that'd be ancient records. Hermia, like the bronze Janus, may still be seen in old Roman villas, with the occasional and intriguing exception that one of the faces will be male and female. The hermaphroditus, again, the female face represents the animal soul, the male the divine soul, and the whole figure is indicative of the occult structure and function of the pineal gland. Gould in his mythical monsters gives several examples drawn from the earliest writings of the Chinese Hindu mythology, and also in polyphasious divinities, and from the far-off Tibetans we learn that one of the titles of Avalokites's surveyor, pardon me for the pronunciation, is Samantra Mukha, he whose face looks every way. There is an alchemical mystery also in connection with the pineal gland, for the regeneration of man is dependent upon the tincturing of the gland, which must be transmuted from base metal into gold. Unawakened by Kundalini, the pineal gland is the vehicle of Karma Manas, the animal mind, Aphrodite, but when tinctured by the spiritual light, it becomes Buddha Manas, the divine mind, Hermes. This Buddha Manas is the Thoth of the later Egyptian mysteries, the god of learning and letters, and according to the extravagant statements of his priest, the source of 26,000 books. So this just blew me away, guys. You know I've looked into Janus for a long time. I've now linked Janus in the religion of the Latins, or part of, the Italian and Eastern Europe, calling the pineal gland Janus. And it makes so much sense when you look at it, how it's connecting both realities and space and time. The pineal gland is called the Janus. That just blew me away. Yeah.
Yeah, they call me the black sheep. You know they call me the black sheep. I'm running wild while you're asleep.
Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Good evening. Hello. Right, guys. What do you think of that? I just wanted to make something different on Janus or Janus or so many names. Now, people can say, "Oh no, they're not this. It's not this." Listen, I'm just showing you evidence that I've found. If you can't handle it, it's up to you. It's like information and the word history. It's like things have changed. Like I said in the video, I started researching this a few years ago and there was no information on it whatsoever. Now you type in and put Janus in before something and people are talking being connected. Now you might say it is a liminal god, meaning threshold, or, transitional god. And that quite be. I've always said Janus is just his Roman name. And people always say, "Oh, Janus is not important." You can see Janus is important. Hence the Bill Gates link just on its own. In just that little bit of bonus material, you can just see he's actually looking for his own connections to that name. You should say it enough. So when you're watching this video, and I do, I know, you guys know I'm honest. I'll hold my hands up. Some of them were a bit, what's the word? Bit tight, the link, but you can see why I had to put it in. Not just to fill the gap, but to actually show you, yes, even though some of them are tight, I could do from A to Z with connections. It's not necessarily just Janus's other names. I've left so many out. Kush. There's loads. Apollyon, because there's another version of Apollo, because he used to be above the doors. So there is so many names I've missed out because it would take too long. So it already took me 2 and a bit weeks to make this. It's just so much editing, so much research, getting stuff in compiled together, and you get to the stage where you enjoy making it, but you just want it finished. And that's what I was getting to. Just oh my god, let me alphabet ever miss them out, and I might have missed the odd letter out, but who knows? But we can only try, can't we? I want to make something good for you people to watch. You use your own spare time to sit down or watch or run or whatever you do when I'm on the screen. And I want to make something good for you. And if you like it, please thumbs up. If you like anything on the channel, give it a thumbs up, like, share, tell people to come over and watch. But a good bunch on here. I keep getting, like I always say, keep getting messaged and saying how well the chat is, how well they get made to feel like part of the family, and that is something humbling and proud. And to be honest, you will not get on any other channel. And I mean that because I've witnessed it myself, and that is something that makes me very emotional and proud of that you guys decide to come on, treat people who come in for the first time or re-encoding people and make it part of the family. So give yourself a pat on the back. So this is something I want to do as a personal challenge. A lot more people are researching Janus now because of my efforts in it, and that's not like saying ego tapping. It's not, because everyone knows me. I've researched Janus and I'm getting out, I'm showing you different things, so it's piquing people's interest, so they're going researching it out and they're doing their alterations, because remember, the truth is personal, it's you. And sometimes, like I said in this, you get caught in the rut, your little hole. And that is why, if you look at me, people say, "Oh, well, you only just research Janus," and they're the egotistical shills and trolls, because you only take 2 seconds to go and have a look at my videos and you can just see the varied nature of what I research. And again, I thank you guys for taking the time to watch it, because you're helping and showing your support by watching it. And it means a lot. Some of you might not comment and you just watch from the background, and I thank you. You guys don't get thanked enough, because sometimes I like to thank the names personally, and I don't know who's watching it. So for you who are watching it, who never comment, thanks. Appreciate it for all that you do. So back to this. I just found it interesting. Now this, for me, sounds like, when people are talking about reality changes, How can information not be there and then be there if his story is not being changed? Because I've been there from dot researching this topic, and you can see it from the first video I made. There's not much information on it, just the usual. Now you're getting him tied and linked and called Lucifer. People are talking about calling him as a demiurge. There's so many names I left out because I just wanted to do a nice flow of a video from A to Z. Some of the names, I say 9 out of 10 of them are talked amongst people I've seen because of the efforts I put in, and others, because it's not just me is researching this now. I'm putting the ideas out and the videos out. There's some people who's made videos on Janus years and years before me, but that was in the sense of him just being a god and not essentially the caretaker, the janitor of this realm. And my other videos like the Time Glass, Janus the Many-Faced Gods, you can just see my point. It's like they are here to appease him, so they're making more and more links, turning us to CERN. What are they actually doing? So these are questions I've asked and maybe answered in other videos. So this is what you get. You get in me showing you Janus, other names for Janus, and it's wow. The stuff I even left out are, I think, pronunciation, because I can't pronounce English the best of times. I think it's Conceivius, which is a god of the conceivement of having a child. It's Janus. I didn't put that in. So there's so many links where some of the letters could have been like 5, 6, 7, 8 gods, and then some of them are just 1 or 2, and some is very hard, like obviously the X's and that. But you can see me point. What I'm trying to show in this video is just why has a god got so many connections, and that is the main point and the question I want to ask. So you people have watched this and watched my previous videos, and if not, you're just catching up on this one. You know, you can go back and look at the other videos. I have included some of my old videos in this, but it's just mind-blowing. So you're talking about, when you talk about Dante's Inferno, you get to hell, and Satan's got 3 heads. Satan in the Bible is known as the adversary, and it's always said that the Satan, the devil, or whatever you want to call it, has many names. Could Janus be Satan? Just drinking my tea in my black sheep mug. So that is all questions. I do believe he has a good aspect to it too, because obviously linked to duality. Some people don't believe in duality, some people don't believe in this, and this is my point. We all believe in so much, and we can see evidence for so much. How can that physically or spiritually be impossible? Because people don't ask that. If I can see this realm as this, and another person can see the realm as that, and this, and this, and you're going along, and it's like, how is that possible? How can people see different things? Again, it's to do with the truth. Being a rut, being personal to you, that's why people get triggered, as well as being indoctrinated. We can see so many different things, because it's frequency based, affects the mind. People talk about, I see it so much on social media, oh, let's activate our pineal gland, you know, and it's all this vibe and all this, and they're talking about, oh, you decalcify the pineal gland, and you go, do you actually know what the occult hidden name for the pineal gland is? And when you mention it is Janus or Janus, crickets. People just don't want to know. I can only show you what I've found, and people say, well, that's not true. Well, it's information. Where have you found your information? In a book, which that was from a book. The internet, which that's from the internet. Can you see my point? Is all this information is out there. Who was the original person that told you? It's always his or her story. It's always personal. Some guru, some lama, some spiritual person would come up with a theory on how life is according to him, and people attach themselves to it and believe in that. So then when someone comes with a different variant, it's butting heads. Who's right, who's wrong? And that's what I always say. Who's the person to decide who's right and wrong on a theory? Just because it's got 10 people who like it to that 2 people doesn't mean that's right. Just means more people, the herd has followed the sheep. Or it could be right. That's the whole point of me doing my videos. I love to do what if videos because I like to ask the questions, because it triggers things in people who watch, which is an emotional response. We all have it. There's different types of triggers. The bad triggers, which is indoctrination, which is a spell, and the ego. And then there's emotional triggers because I've hit a nerve. Remember, researching is looking for information that you already know. We already know all this. You can call it the collective consciousness, the Akatchi records, the creation source, whatever you want it. People call it different things. They label it. Label. It's a song, it's a frequency, it's a bell to bow. Now, are you using someone else's connection? Like the internet you've hacked in. So you're getting a corrupted state. Who knows? These are all things to ask. So when we're here, and we're talking about 2 heads are better than 1, we're talking about Zeus. And when you read the thing to Zeus, it says he split them in half. He doesn't say he created them as 2. Was there someone before him who created people with 2 heads in his image? That is something interesting, because we see a lot of biseparal people, Siamese twins, 2 heads, animals the same. Are they genetic experiments, or are they just what we originally was? Because there's pictures of that big giant going around with 2 heads, and you can see lots of things like this. So these are questions I want to ask in videos like this. Yes, I do a lot of what ifs, because what can I prove? What I can prove is I can get a document or a piece of a book from the internet or in physical flesh, show you. That doesn't mean it's right. That just means it's someone's interpretation, his story being written in a book. And like I always say, you treat it as information. That's why I don't give it any bias. I can just show you, and sometimes you let your intuition, your insight, and it'll twing. Yeah, that feels right. You know what I mean? But you can't physically portray that feeling. I can only say I get that feeling that it may be right, and that then hits someone else in that spot. Yeah, I think you might be right, because we do share a common source code. So when we're doing videos like this, like I said, I'm just expanding the catalogue that's on my channel, and people are always asking for more and more Janus videos, and I've never done a video like this. And if people wanted me to say, right, go in A and then give a full depth count on A and then B, I haven't got the time. It's took me 2 and a bit weeks just to do this. There's not enough time in the day, unfortunately. I've got a caring job, and things generally pop up. Plus I don't want to spend time in front of the computer 24/7 like I was. It was no good for my health. And like I said, I do this for the love of it. I do this for the to share knowledge, because the comments I get back are outstanding. The interaction in the chat is second to none. People tell me you need to have good brains to be in the chat and to understand it. But that's the beauty of it. Get into that time now, because like I said, I don't want to go too long. Right. So back to this. So what you can think of the Janus link, because Janus, but I'll see it right. I do believe there's an entity behind it, and because this entity covers his bases and being linked to so many gods is really, really contradictory. I said it so many times in the video. People will be screaming, oh, well, it's not possible because this is this and this. Listen, my hands are up. I've actually told you in the chat. I've seen posts linking certain gods with other gods, and it's just the information that you get. Like I said, you could research anything and find evidence for whatever you want to do when you go and look at something. And that is just a part of that book and history. People won't like the fact that I've turned IHS from the Jesuits into his story. Think about it. this entity is behind Janus is being worshipped. I've showed you who's worshipping at gates. All the Kabbalists. He's linked to that thing. Is I can't say the certain words because you've been getting taken down. But we know what's happened this past year. All to him. I've shown it and shown it and shown it. And people are now, because they're just like, oh God, I'll have to have a look at this eventually because he's put so much information out, and they're looking into it. And you can see, that's all I ever ask. You don't have to believe, you can just look. And if he doesn't take to you, he doesn't take. But please always have respect for the work I've put in and the work for other people have put in to help me formulate an idea. Never slam something and never treat people with disrespect. I see a lot of it lately. It's absolutely disgusting how people who are supposed to be in a minority group treat other people in the groups. You know what I mean? You should be ashamed of yourself. But then again, people are not these days. So, back to this. Doesn't it not intrigue you that we're looking for clues and evidence to try and formulate this realm better for us? I talk about Janus being the architect. It's like the Matrix. Who's in charge of the Matrix? The architect. The Grand Archon. You have, like, say, the Demiurge with a cockerel head. The cockerel is just associated with Peter. Peter meaning father. Janus. He's got the cockerel. He has the key. So you can see the influx of how history has been assimilated, and it's his story. So this with the Jesuits, I just looked at it and thought, yes, I know it's an anagram in Greek for Jesus, and I can't say it in Greek out or Latin, but just rearrange the letters. IHS, his, and then underneath the seal it's him, his story. Because we always talk about his story. Well, whose is the history? Is it an elite organisation, various organisations, hell-bent on creating this realm into what they want to control us and, have their way with, everyone. Globalism created in Genoa. Genoa is named after him. Genoa has his name in the cathedral, talking how he is a progeny of giants. So you have all this, and that's where I first found him, in the cathedral in Genoa. Genoese flag is white with a red cross, which is the English flag. The English paid them to fly their flag. Then they moved to Switzerland because of the banking. The first bank was actually in Geneva. Not Geneva, Genoa. I always get it. And then you went to Geneva. So the first banking cartel, they had to ask permission from the Council of the Ancients. 4 guys, 4 heads. And they got permission to set up the first Rothschild State Bank, whatever you want to call it, called the Bank of St. George. George, England. George was the original name for the planet Uranus, but it got changed to Uranus, but it originally was George. So you see all these connections. The flag, St. George. St. George is Turkey, or whatever you want to say. Wait, there used to be a colony of Genoa in Istanbul. Black Plague came from the steppes, Mongolia, China way. They had a colony in there. I've showed you all this. Genoa, genocide, genome. So you can see the fun that you have with this, all tied to Genoa, which is named after Janus. So this insignificant god from all these people who troll, it goes a long way. I can only show, if you don't want to, taking on board the information, dismiss it. That's up to you. We're not a dictatorship here, unlike you guys who dictate what your subscribers or people have to look and research. I'm open to anything, and people who watch me are in the same. So you can see the links and how interesting it goes. And that is why I've always been fascinated with it, because obviously the Genoa link and then the English link. They went to Geneva. The flag is just opposite, red and white. It's the red background with a white cross. And then they left there and they went and set up the banking system in London City. The actual official London City separate entity, which that is the 33rd borough or council of London, if you did count it, because it's separate, it's counted as 32 plus City of London. City of London has markers with the dragons, and it also has the flag. The Bank of England has Janus in it. So you can see how intriguing it is, and it goes way deeper than even me think I've looked into, because you only got so much time in the day. Pardon me. So yeah, I sat there one day, people are asking for more videos on Janus. I'm thinking, what can I do it's different? I've done so many videos on it. I think I've done about 3 or 4 videos on it. More and more information it goes up. Links to Noah, links to in the name from the vine, the wine. It is really crazy, right? The first shipbuilder, the first pope, all this information I've shown you in the videos. How he appears with 4 heads on the island of gods, which is a ship, and then he got built into a ship too, a marble. Beautiful. I've done the island of gods video, you should check that out. It just makes you think what is and who's behind it, and that's the whole point of the video. Can I highlight just how many names people are linking him to? Because it's not just me saying, oh, Apollo is him. You can say it, I've used information that I found. Some of them I've, like I said, I've theorised on because of the liminal or threshold god type of thing, because I believe it's just one god behind it. And you can say, oh, it's not the god. I'm calling it a lowercase god. You know what I mean? I don't know what's in. I believe in a creator. You know what I mean? You can call it whatever name. People fight over names. You know, to me, the creator doesn't need a name. Yet when I've done my research and looked into this, God is named after the vowels. That makes you think, or is that Janus, the entity behind Janus? That is why they did the great vowel shift. The vowel shift, the change in the vowels from one god to another. And that's the period they changed the calendar, which moved January and Janus first. Added so many years on the calendar. You have I and J used. Janus changed the history to heliocentricism. All that was changed. I've done the video on the great vowel shift. Check that out. So if they've moved and shifted the entire language to how you spoke, because when you look into Gnosticism, which means knowledge, and that is tied to Janus, the ledge is part of the door. So when you're talking about changing the language, changing the vowel, changing how we speak, Gnosticism talks about 7 heavens, and you need to know all the words to get through each door to get to heaven. If not, you get reincarnated. So if you were an evil villain, like I said in the video, you would change how you speak, because then how can you learn all the words? Because you then control school. So if you're teaching people how to speak a different way, learn a different way, you're not going to learn every word or the code, the spells, the passwords to get through each door. Unless you go down our route. We are classed as truthers, or whatever you want to call yourselves. It's just a label. But when you look into something, we all see it uniquely, because we all need to know each password to each door differently. It's just a fascinating thing when you tie everything up together, and then it's tied to the pineal gland. It is crazy how an entity, even just his Roman name, and you talk about Rome, all the roads lead to Rome. You can say Rome never existed, it doesn't matter, because it's part of history. So you can say, well, Rome didn't exist, it doesn't matter. In history, it existed because it's been wrote, it's been spelled into books, and people are learning it. So it's been put into history. So it doesn't matter if you don't believe this, this and this and this, because it's part of all the spell, part of the indoctrination. And that is what the interesting thing is, why I always look at things differently, and why I always try to research and look at things against the grain, because that's just who I am. People don't research like me. I don't research like you. It doesn't mean I'm better than you. It just means I'm different. I'm unique. And people need to accept that we're all unique to a degree and enjoy what different people bring to the table. It's like you having a party. I know we can't in these times, you know what I mean? But I still would. And you bring in a food to the table, you know, like you do, and you're having a barbecue or something, guests bring over a dish. Can you imagine you're inviting 20, 30 people and you all bring the same dish? It's going to be a bit... Now, if you bring a different dish, you're giving yourself options. And this is what this community lacks. You go into a group, if you're a new person, you're into looking into a topic, automatically, when you... 9 times out of 10, we're all different. I mean, I didn't do it as much, but you sometimes do fall into the trap of going into a group and whoever shouts the loudest, you do look at, because they're making the most noise, and you're thinking, wow, they're making a lot of noise, they must know what they're talking about. And 9 times out of 10, it's a lot of bollocks. It's because they don't know anything. That's why they shout the loudest. And it's how you treat people. For some reason, people like to be treated like shit, and because it's the truth, it doesn't matter. But it's bollocks. You don't have to be treated badly because of the truth. Remember, the truth is personal. It's just an ingoing and in-searching battle and journey for yourself. You don't have to be taught to treat you like shit. It's hard enough as it is. It's them and us. That's all it should be, them and us. And them is the Kabbalists, the evil. And it's not. It's like them, us, and friends and separate groups. And that's the problem. And all these channels and people are always talking about, hey guys, let's get a commune and get us all built together and let's just talk together. That's the worst thing, in my opinion, that you can do. You're detaching yourself from the source of other people. Because if you're living in a commune and you're all whispering and doing all your little talks together, it's just an echo chamber. And anyone who doesn't fit into that echo chamber gets kicked out. But you're just in an echo chamber. You need to have a different opinion, and you need people, an influx of new ideas constantly. So it's better to be still a part to the system, yet detached. So you need a bit of both. You can't just detach completely and sit in the field and commune and that. It doesn't work for me, because you're just going to hear the same ideas. You need to be somewhere in the middle, on the outskirts, as you say. But you used to know, remember what the people on the outskirts were named? Pagans. And that has been coined because these people lived in a country just out of society's reach, didn't follow the main religions, and bang, they get referred to as paganism. And people say, oh, Paul, paganism is bad. Paganism isn't bad. People are bad. People just don't look at that. So if I hurt your feelings and that, I don't care, because I'm sick and tired of everything being pagan associated with bad. People are bad. People what make things bad. You have a beautiful scenery, a beautiful patch of land. You put a good person in, the land flourishes, it grows beautiful. You put the wrong person in, it dies and withers and becomes evil. It's the person. You can get good Catholics, bad Catholics, get good pagans, bad pagans, good pagans. You can get good, of everything. It's good and bad of everything, and that's the only point I want to, influx to this. But remember, people like to attach labels to you straight away. Like me, my channel gets hit hard. I don't see comments, and I can guarantee that, majority of you come across me by just someone saying, come on, have a look at him, or just by accident. I don't get talked about in the community as much, because I like to be neutral. I like to try and be friends with everyone, because if you treat me with respect, I will treat you with respect. And I know I'm old school like that, and I don't like when people say you shouldn't be friends with these people because I'm not friends with them. Because you're not friends with them. Grow up. It's just you're not friends with them. You should never, and I've never ever said it, I don't think I have, said to someone, especially in the modern era now when I'm doing YouTube and that, or growing up into an adult. You might have said it when you're a kid, but exactly, you're a child. But one my point is, you should never say to someone, don't follow them, don't look at them because I don't like them. You have to sometimes let people experience it and look into it itself. Yes, it might drive you mad because you know what the people are like, and you trying to want to save someone the journey of doing it, but we learn through experience, unfortunately. So the point of this video, being it sidetracked and waffling on, is there has to be an entity, whether he's named or not, is behind all the liminal gods, because as we know, history is just rehashed. And whether there was one god, or was there a different type of god with a different name and it's completely been wiped out, that's what the problem is. There's not enough oral history, and sometimes the danger of oral history, it's like Chinese whispers, it will get changed. If you say one god to, your child, he then passes on to his child and he changes the pronunciation, it gets changed. There's no way of retracking it. But we can see the point of the video. I just wanted to connect and make a video of A to Z, and everything that connects is with Janus in it. I believe I've done it. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Yes, I did waffle on for a bit, but oh my god, it's my platform and I've not been out for a few weeks, so I've pent up enthusiasm to get the message out to you guys. Hopefully you're staying safe. Hopefully you're smiling in this time. Take care. Be good to one another. And if you like it, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, what can I do? Oh, don't break it. But whatever you do, have a great day. Take care, and remember, always smile. Bye guys.